Howdy! Welcome back to me reviewing and tier listing STPs. Today I will be tier listing the Wheelie by Emisil. If you watched my last video, thank you, and you'll also know that I am going to be ranking STPs off of 5 different criteria. The first one is going to be the actual looks and realism of this STP. Will I get weird looks at a urinal? The second one is going to be comfort and packability. Will it look or feel like I have a boner? The third one is STP function and learning curve, because I feel like if something is able to be used after a certain amount of time, but it's hard to get to that point, some people may drop off and not find the full potential of an STP or be disappointed in it. The next one will be pricing. Will I need to buy, or will I need to take out a new mortgage on my house to buy this STP? Will I be broke? Yes or no? And my last one will be my overall ranking of the STP and if I would recommend it to people. A little side note, none of my videos will be covering the play function of any of these STPs if that's an availability, because I myself personally don't think there's an STP out on the market that can do pack, play, and STP function without sacrificing one of those functions. Before we actually get started, I'd like to point out that any STPs that I've been reviewing have all been bought for my own money. No one has sent me any of these for free. Nobody has given me money to give you any review on them. It's all of my own honest opinions. And keep in mind, what works for me isn't necessarily going to work for you, especially if we have different body types, different anatomy. Everybody's going to be different. So just take that with a grain of salt. Onto the actual STP itself. Fair warning for anybody, what I am about to show you is a prosthetic that looks like a penis. If that bothers you in any way, please feel free to click off, and thank you for watching as long as you did. Have a good one. So, this is the Wheelie by Emisil. This is the color S07. The size specs on this are length of shaft 4.3 inches or 11 centimeters. The girth of it is going to be 4.1 inches or 11 centimeters, and the weight of it is going to be 200 grams or 7 ounces. And if you watched my last video, you know that this is roughly the weight of a hamster. They also sell their prosthetics in 16 different colors, and on certain models they offer an option to put hair on the tab, but not with the STPs. The price of the Emisil Wheelie is around $550 USD, but I received it on sale for $455 USD. This is not a cheap prosthetic. For my pricing tier list, I would have to put this in the think again category. For being close to around $500, this is not a prosthetic you're going to want to be disappointed by for that price. I would possibly look into if someone's selling the prosthetic for cheaper online, or if you have a friend that you're really cool with who would let you test it out before you commit to buying it. For anybody wondering, the Emisil Wheelie came in an unmarked brown box. Inside was packing peanuts, and inside that was a vacuum sealed bag with the prosthetic inside. So onto my actual first impressions of the Wheelie by Emisil. I was really impressed by how it looks. I absolutely love the look of this. I love the fact that this is a fully uncut STP. It does have a large hole, which I know bothers some people, but it does have some great detailing on the skin. It has some vein detailing. The balls have detailing on them, and they actually have 3 balls moving around, if you can see that. It also has a no-spill lip, which interested me. I did notice that this cup is a bit longer, and we'll get into that when we get into the actual peeing function. The silicone itself is fairly soft. I will say that it's not as squishy as some other ones I've tried, but it's not too bad. But it is rather stiff. Something to keep in mind with this one is you cannot use this one for play because of its downward shape, and also the details on this are actually painted, so if you did attempt to use this for play, you would definitely want to use a condom on them so that you're not introducing the paint into someone's body or trying to rub off anything on here. For the looks and realism category of the tier list, I have to say this prosthetic looks absolutely amazing. When it's pulled through my underwear fly, you would not be able to tell it's a prosthetic. It has great detailing for its texturing and for its paint job. I love the fact that it has painted on veins and blushing on it. The only issue I do have with it is that it's not warm toned. It's more of a cool tone compared to my skin, which I understand that they're not going to be able to custom make every single color for every person, but I would like if this company could sell or give out samples for you to color match for yourself. But I would still put this in, this is literally a penis tier. If anybody were to look at this in my pants, they would not be able to tell it's a prosthetic, and that's pretty amazing. I do wish that they had the ability to add hair onto the tab of their STPs. They do it for other prosthetics, but not STPs in particular. I even emailed the company to ask, but I hope in the future they would be able to support that functionality. So onto the actual peeing function and learning curve of this, I was actually really disappointed with it compared to how it looked, because if you look at this funnel, it sits underneath you and this sits between your legs, and because this funnel is so long, I found it had a tendency to squeeze between my legs, which that could just be a me problem. I have thicker legs and can't make a very large gap between them. Even with this no spill lip, I found that the funnel was a bit too floppy for my liking, and also because this hangs downwards and is very stiff, even when you kind of stick it out, the pee flow goes a bit backwards, so you really have to hover above the toilet or get very close to the urinal and enable it to actually go through and not pee all over yourself. I found that the best way to pee with this is with my Cake Bandit STP underwear with the tab on it here from GenderCat, and I would have to lean forward to make sure it's actually going through the hole itself and not sticking here in the funnel. So I decided to do a bit of a flow test to demonstrate the STP function of this. Here I'm doing 250 milliliters, which is around the average pee for when you go to the bathroom. You can also go up to 400 milliliters, which is this clip right here, demonstrating that it handles this flow perfectly fine. It doesn't back up at all, there's no backflow. And just for a bit of fun, in the upcoming clip, I also filled the STP to its max capacity and measured out how much urine it could hold, which ended up being 150 milliliters. For the STP function and learning curve for the Emisil Willie, I would have to put it in the not confident category. I still have some issues with positioning it right if I'm not careful, and that funnel squeezing it in on itself and pee flowing out backwards. I think that this has a very steep learning curve because you're standing in an almost unnatural way of having to squat and lean forward over the toilet, which isn't the greatest. I would definitely not recommend this for your first STP. Onto packing and comfort, the way I would pack with this would be with my Cake Bandit STP underwear and using these self-adhesive sheets from GenderCat. And I found that this doesn't make an enormous bulge in your pants, but in just underwear, it hangs so low to be able to get in the proper position to pee with that it kind of makes a pointed end to it. And if you pull your sweatpants or something that's a bit looser fitting up too much, you will notice that point. I would also say that it's not the biggest bulge in the world, and if you like to pack a little more subtle, that'd be great for you. If you want to pack a little bit bigger, I don't think this would be the best STP for that function. I would also say for comfort, I don't think it was uncomfortable, but I did notice before trimming my hair that even without this sheet, it would kind of pull and tug on my hair just a little bit. But after trimming, it was a lot better. And I also noticed for the comfort aspect of it, because this funnel goes far between your legs, I would notice it a lot more versus some other ones I've tried. So I wouldn't say that this is uncomfortable, but I wouldn't say that I don't notice it's there. I'm very aware of it. For the comfort and packability tier, I would have to put the Emisil Willie in either a high, well aware, or low, it's aight. I'll put it in it's aight. for the simple fact that the bulge it creates is not enormous, so it's great if you want to have that option. But I will say that I was very well aware that I was packing when I had this on. Again, I feel like this would be better suited for someone who has smaller thighs or can make a bigger gap between their thighs than myself. But overall, I don't feel like it was terrible. I will say that I wish the silicone was a bit softer and a little less stiff. I think that would have helped it so you could actually pack up. Currently, you can only pack with this down. So, what are my thoughts on the Emisil Willie? I think it's an amazing prosthetic. It looks incredible, and I think it actually feels pretty okay when you're actually packing with it. I think its big downfall is how stiff this silicone is and this downward motion, and again, like how long this cup is. For me personally, because I can't create that big gap between my thighs, I'm well aware of this cup and I squeeze it too much. It's a bit too flimsy for me, but when you can position it correctly, it does work. Again, you just have to hover over the toilet. I wouldn't recommend this for anybody who's a newbie to STPs because I feel like you'll get frustrated with it. But if you're well versed in STPs and you want to try something way more realistic, I would definitely give this a 1 to recommend. But I can't within good faith recommend this to everybody. For my overall ranking for the Emisil Willie, I would have to give it a not a big fan. I think it looks amazing. It looks absolutely incredible. I love the look of it. And the 3D balls are a very nice touch. Its detailing is amazing. And if you're looking for realism, then you found it. This is A1. This is what you need. But I can't recommend this to just anybody because of its steep learning curve and the fact that I had trouble and still have a bit of trouble to get it to work. If you are someone who's very experienced in STPs, this is great. Or if you have thinner thighs that can create a larger gap than mine, then I think this would be a better STP for you. But for this price of close to $500, it's hard for me to 100% recommend this to anybody without knowing how well other STPs work for you. So, my overall thoughts on the Emisil Willie are that it's an amazing looking prosthetic, and if realism is what you're mainly focused on, then this would definitely be the prosthetic for you. If you're more focused on the actual ease of STPing and the learning curve of it, I don't think this would be your first stop. I think if you've worked up to it, this would definitely be a great addition to your arsenal. But for how much it costs, I can't just recommend it to anybody. Overall, I did really love the product, and I still will definitely be wearing it, but just not as often as other ones I have. So, that was my review and tier listing of the Emisil Willie. I hope you found this video informative, entertaining. I hope it gave you some insight. If you have any advice on how I can make these videos better, any questions about this particular prosthetic, or any recommendations for future STPs you would like me to review, please let me know. Have a good one.